Why, hello everybody, and welcome back. I'm Random Randy, and today we're just going to take a look into kind of a piece of a concept I've been talking about, and that is this power shift happening. Well, it's an ongoing process, really. It's even happening into current times. So, just wanted to demonstrate some very similar things happening around the world over the last couple of hundred years, and this is just one example here. What we're going to look at today are some photos of Paris circa about 1870 and going into 1871, after we have, you can call it a conflagration, I guess, if you will, or a rebellion or a war. This whole period was rife with conflict, and it's happening all around the world. It's absolutely incredible what's going on in terms of innovation at this point, as well as destruction. All right, definitely a power shift. And there's some interesting things happening here that I wanted to point out and show some like correlation between these events and these photos and some more modern times. So we have a massive war taking place throughout the world at this period of time. This is the period of time supposedly what we would call post-Civil War era. So as you can see here, we had a lot of destruction taking place in France also. So there was also a war going on and an upset or a shift in the power structure happening. And that's what these photos are representing here, with the bringing down of these pillars and the tearing down of this statue that was supposedly Napoleonic, uh, or something, or just as evidence of the empire that is supposedly being brought down at this point. Now I'll show here in just a moment why this is similar to things going on currently. All right, and why I think that this is all just a part of what has been come to known as the reset, right? Except for this is not just a one-off, everybody. This is constantly happening. And currently is also happening. There's always a newer world order just waiting in the wings to take the place of what is currently failing, essentially. So we had the same thing going on back then, right? And we have the bringing down, symbolically of the previous power structure. And that's really all this is, guys, is symbolic. This power structure never goes anywhere. It doesn't go away. The people don't win. Okay. Um, Now you've got to find your wins in your personal life. That's the way that things are set up nowadays. So it's a little bit different than maybe it had been in the past, where, a vast majority of people could have some social status and whatnot. The whole social status thing in our current time is simply an illusion. So, that being said, we're just continuing to take looks at the Paris Commune, 1870 to 1871. And something kind of neat to note here is we have a group of gentlemen standing out here, and these are not our typical bowler hat types. Those come later on, those come 30 or 40 years later. That's the next shift in power. So, this shift that you're seeing happen here is simply the removal of the old, quote, power structure, right? It's just a changing of faces, guys. That's all any of this ever is. Okay. So whether you want to believe the fantastical lie of, a an old control system that cared about people and cared about, you know, being like the most spiritually uplifting or healing place, listen, we have to create that for ourselves. Okay. We have to create a more spiritually uplifting, a more motivational society. All of these things that we're looking to the past to bring us, it's not going to work that way. We have to implement these things ourselves, free energy, etc. It all has to be put into play by us now. This is what this opportunity is. This is what this awakening is. So hopefully, you're able to see the information I'm portraying here, and you can understand that we can wait all day for the power system to shift. You will see that it will shift. People will be led to believe that they can have faith in their power system, that they have won. They will be reassured with monuments toppled, right? This is what we see happening. And I'm going to get to where do we also see this happening in our current time. I will show you it momentarily, and maybe you can understand. Now, meanwhile, in the background of all of these, we still have the power structure in place. You see this building back here, right? So there still is the underlying power structure. It never goes away, not completely, puts on a new face, but that's about it. But what do these pictures remind us of? Now we're going to fast forward to only a couple of decades ago. What we're looking at here is the statue of Saddam Hussein being pulled down in Iraq. Okay, so yet another shift of power, right? Now, what do we see happening in Iraq? We see Halliburton going in, we see BlackRock going in, building an entire new city, and then essentially handing it right back over to the subgroup that they have then trained to be the next power system that will be toppled at some point in the future. So, that's just what I'm getting at with this is listen, guys, we're seeing it again and again and again. Now we saw, the supposedly the Taliban being ousted out of the Middle East, and then guess what? Now they're back in control again, all within 30 years. So I'm hoping that you can see the loop that is happening around and around, the Ouroboros eating its own tail over and over and over again. So at some point, I hope that you understand that this is all a big show, all a big show. Okay. This whole thing, all a giant show. We've got their little group of people down here filming this, right? To make sure all of these unforgettable images are ingrained into your psyche, into your memory. Now, these people in this area at this time were like, oh, the bad man's gone. We win. There's no one bad man. There are bad men. And you will never know their names. You will never know their agenda. What can you do to empower yourself, you might ask? You do just that. You empower yourself. You bring your own energy up. You pay as little mind as possible, while, of course, heeding the warnings that you see in situations like this. When you say something being brought down, just know that something's going to go right back up in its place. And it's most likely going to be a lot of the same, unless you step forward and make those changes. That's what it takes. Us stepping in, making the changes on a personal level, on a community level. And then we have the rebuilding of the very same control structure. Okay. So you see how they've built it back up with a new representation, a new God for the ages up on top. Now we can get into the argument of the age of these photos, etc., and so on, but we won't even go there. We'll just note that this was brought low and apparently erected again. So it's the same thing going back up. What is this power structure for, everybody? Well, I like to think that it's for us to better ourselves, to learn how to live and to love and to treat each other. And, in the spirit of that thought, I'd like to share what I'm finding with all of you out there and hopefully bring us to a closer understanding that this thing, this control system is not going to wait. It's going to continue to cycle in and out, up and down, to vibrate the same low vibration that it has all this time. And it's up to all of us to step out of this, to bring the idea of Tartaria, to bring all of that to our current time for ourselves, instead of living through all of these pictures of war, of usurping titles. This is always going to continue in the background, everybody. Always. So you can invest your interest in your mind in the past, or you can turn that motivation inward, grow yourself, grow those around you. If enough of us develop the understanding and knowing that all of this madness is completely unnecessary, then perhaps at some point in the future it will change. But while we all see the necessity in this madness and feed into it every single day, every time we turn on a screen, every time we look at the palm of our hand, which our phone is embedded within nearly, we have to understand that at a certain point, in a certain level, we are feeding this thing with our attention. We are feeding these wars with our attention. Because guess what? If none of us wanted any of it, if none of us bought into it every single day over and over again, then it would be useless. There would be no point in it. It may very well be given an opportunity to disappear and to release its stranglehold of control over all of us, but we all have to make that decision. So best of luck to you all in making that change in your life and the lives of those close to you. That's really all that we can do. That doesn't take away from the fact that, yes, we are in a type of a debt slavery system. So, we were never freed. Keep that in mind. I'm going to hammer on that a little bit. Now, how do we find our freedom within ourselves? This is the option we're given. I know it's the illusion of choice and all that, but it's nonetheless what we have been gifted. So we are not completely hopeless, but we can decide how the story is written for us based on our reactions to what we are handed today. So that being said, I just want to thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And, much love to everybody out there. Definitely appreciate you finding yourself on the channel or in the podcast. And I just wanted to share that thought with you all and show you that the same things are looping back around over and over again. Does that mean it's a simulation? Does that mean it's this and that? Man, I don't know. It sure seems a lot like that sometimes. There's definitely patterns and cycles to things that once we notice them, perhaps we have the opportunity to change those cycles, shift those patterns, alter those timelines, however you want to look at it, right? But really, it all starts with us on a very personal level. And so I wish nothing but the best for you. And I do hope that this information finds you well, and we'll see you next time.